Hey, watercolor fans! Howdy, howdy! It's Rusty Nelson, the old Rusty Professor here with Vlog 14, talking watercolor. Anything that may have come up with some comments in any of my recent videos and shorts, I've had some good comments. Man, the summer is flying by, and I've been working really hard to get some pieces done and scheduled, some things other than basic still life, basic shape tutorials. I've been starting to work on some scenes. I've been doing more things with stone. I did the original stone and rock tutorial a couple months back, so I'm starting to now use that skill set in a couple of tutorials with a rock wall with objects on it like a lantern or doorways with stone. So there's some things that'll be dropping here soon that you'll be able to see and watch. Been doing some tutorials with watercolor washes and line art. So I've done a few of those in short format, in the shorts format, or actual tutorials. One of those I think is just dropping Monday of this week. So keep an eye out for that. But some good comments. And the most recent comment, it also relates to the whole idea of wetness or dryness, of when to do what with what state, right? So last week I think somebody was commenting about their paper drying too fast, and I was suggesting that they go ahead and use more water. And I see this with students all the time. They get a little dab of water, a little dinky puddle, and mix a little dab of pigment into it, and then brush it onto the paper, and then they don't have a pool on their palette to go back to and reload their brush. So it's just simply getting a bigger puddle of your saturated color or your water, or watering down your paper enough to where there's a sheen, a shiny aspect. So if you tilt your head a little bit, look at it, you can see that shiny aspect. Boy, that paper is good and saturated, and you can then do a lot of good wet on wet techniques. Just remember, in that state, you're going to need a lot of pigment. If you're looking for saturated colors, you're going to have to drop in. It's scary as hell to drop in that much pigment on white paper. It just is kind of shocking. So you kind of have to develop an understanding of how saturated it needs to be, for how saturated do you want it to be when it dries. So, but this week's comment was more about not knowing how dry it needs to be to then do something with it. So, and that's another experiential thing, that once that sheen dries from the surface of the paper, it's still damp. If you can kind of just lightly touch the surface, and you can still feel moisture, if you add any pigment and more watercolor work onto the paper at that point, it's going to fuzz. It's going to look like something that's out of focus. So anytime you can still feel that moisture in it, and it is a feel, and you'll get a good sense for maybe the dryness of it too. Maybe your paper even starts to curl as it dries a little bit too, if you haven't taped it down. I typically don't really do a full-blown stretch and tape my pieces down. I normally try to flatten them out on the back end of it. It doesn't bother me if they curl. I can work around that. And I think I did a tutorial on how to flatten paper afterwards anyway. But I mean, I used to tape it down pretty solidly and let it, wet it down and stretch it and things like that. Crap. I took a tangent. Now I lost my train of thought. Oh, wetness and dryness. So the dryness, if you got to make sure that if you're wanting good sharp edges and detail and structure and things like that, that paper has to be dry. You can't actually feel any moisture in those areas where you're going to paint. And it all depends on the paper as well, what type of paper you're working with. Some dry faster than others, but it is a knowledge base and experiential base that you're developing just through the practice that you need to work with. So plus throw into the fact you're going to have certain tastes and things that you like better than other things. Maybe you want to have all of that nice wet on wet, soft, expressive, loose looking watercolors, right? Or you want something tighter. It's all a matter about personal sense of style and taste that you like, or how you like to paint and this and that. So, but one thing, do push yourself outside of your comfort zones. Yeah, you can have things you like doing, you've had success with. I have issues with students on that as well. They've had some successes doing a certain thing and then getting them to work beyond that thing and push it again. Even if, and especially with students, when they're getting a grade on something, I mean, it's a high stake thing for them. They don't want to take the risks and push beyond what they know has worked in the past where they got a good grade on something. And it can work again, right? And if but they're staying in a very safe zone. So you got to learn to push beyond your boundaries and get a little expansive with what you try and take some risks. And that is scary. Even those who are not getting a grade for it, just to get outside and push it and be willing to tear up that paper if it's a train wreck. And I'm facing that right now with one of my tutorials. I've been trying to get a pure landscape tutorial shot. I think I shot the damn thing 4 times now, and each one of them, for whatever reason, has been a nightmare and a train wreck, mainly because I've been doing many still lifes. I haven't been doing many landscapes in the last couple of months, right? So I'm out of practice. I'm rusty, no pun intended. I need to get back in there and get tuned back up, get my hand, get my mind right. There's all sorts of various things that really have to start clicking and functioning correctly. In the scene I'm doing, it's going to be a sunrise with some nice clouds in it. So I'm fighting, it's a wet on wet color gradient, diagonal color gradient too, with the steel blue going to a sunrise color, yellows and oranges. And then you got this steel blue cloud in the sky, and it's a variation. It's got sharp edges, it's got soft edges. So it's a royal pain in the butt, but it's not been the sky that's given me the big problem. It's the horizon and the foreground area where it's in a very low key color, and the reference I'm using has been a oversaturated photo. It's one that I shot, and so I'm like I said, it's been the foreground that's kicked my butt 4 different times. And somebody even commented, I think I mentioned it in the last vlog post, have I ever posted anything where I've really screwed it up? And it's like, no, I haven't posted them, mainly because I haven't posted the screw ups to any great extent. I have posted like the fox where I screwed up the eye. The eye was in the wrong location, all sorts of things. And I did a tutorial on how to fix it. But just to know that, as a beginner, as an intermediate, or even a more experienced watercolor artist, you're going to have your screw ups, and you do have to kind of, gird your loins and be ready. And it's like you're just going in, you're diving in, you're going to take some risks, and hopefully it'll turn out. You'll try to mitigate the problems as they crop up or fix them. It's just a constant thing. And then it's like, it didn't work. Get rid of it, throw it out, tear it up, don't ever let it see the light of day, and move on and try it again. So I'm kind of getting mentally prepared to go after this landscape again, because I do want to get one posted. And I'll talk to you about all the pitfalls and the issues that I had trying to get this thing done. So I've been doing a lot of line art and color wash tutorials and shorts as well. It's a great technique if you're trying to ease in. If you've been having trouble with structure, just doing straight watercolor, working with line art along with pen and ink on top of a wash, or vice versa, doing the line art first and then adding the wash in, that's a great technique as well. Both have their strengths and things you have to adjust for, and it's a matter of balancing, what you're wanting each one of the things to do, which is the dominant thing. Is it the line art that's dominant and the colors subversive is less important? You think a freaking professor. I need my damn thesaurus out. Can't even say that. All right. So anyway, let's look here. Line art and color. Oh yeah, so or just the opposite. Is the color the dominant thing and the line art being the submissive? Maybe that's the better word. Anyway, For you 80 people who are watching this vlog, there you go. I've totally maxed out my my visual vocabulary for the day. Anyway, I have been going on for about 10 minutes about a whole lot of little things, and watch for the tutorials as they're coming up. Yeah, I talked about my landscape train wreck that's just kicking my butt. So I'm going to get one. I'm determined to get it and do more landscapes and tune up. I even jumped back over to a one that has foliage in it with a structure with like a grain bin, I think, or grain elevator in it. I'm in the Midwest. You see those things all over. And that one is kind of my transitory watercolor to get me to this landscape. So I thought, okay, I can do one with some sort of object in it with the subject matter being the focal point, that being the focal point, and the landscape being the support component. So, but this landscape I'm trying to do, it's all about the landscape. And boy, I tell you, you got to get your mind right and your hand perfect, right? So, and it's tough, and you got to think very abstractly. I think landscapes, you do have to get in more of an abstract train of thought and mindset to make it work. So let me know how my tutorials are helping you out. If they are, what I need to improve upon. I know there's a whole list of things. I keep a running list of, try to show the palette more, talk about my color mixes, what colors I'm mixing. What else? I try to zoom in. I've been trying all sorts of new things with my tutorials, doing more crossfades and maybe not including, those videos where I speed them up 1.5 times, 2 times, sometimes up to 3 times the speed. They seem a little frantic. So I've been trying to do more where I'm just crossfading to various points in whatever stage I'm working with. And the things I've been doing have been really, it's been the glazing and all the detail work at the back end. And boy, I tell you what, that is literally like watching paint dry. So I know it's slow. So I'm trying to figure out better ways of jazzing up my videos so that I don't lose you and get my retention up. So, and in looking at my stats and my information, it looks like I'm growing a little more of an audience on the younger end of the spectrum. My primary audience remains the 65 plus people, but I'm really picking up good in the 25 to 35 to 40-year-old range. So, hey, welcome and joining, and welcome into the channel and joining in with this conversation about watercolor. So, drop me some comments and give me a like, give me a subscribe. It really helps, builds my confidence, even though I'm having my issues speaking today. If I had more time, I'd probably do this video over again, but I'm under the gun. I got to get this one done, edit it a little bit, and get it posted. So, all right, I'll see you guys next week in the vlog, and watch my tutorials, and I'll see you then.